Okay, welcome back to Continue Freedom. Today we're going to talk about a great American, someone that this is a historical reference today, but it is very much in keeping with what we're dealing with as a country right now. And we go to no greater American who was not perfect, but he was someone that we can all respect. That was Abraham Lincoln. And this is from his 1838 address. And he says, I know the American people are much attached to their government. I know they would suffer much for its sake. I know they would endure evils long and patiently before they would ever think of exchanging it for another. Yet, notwithstanding all this, if the laws be continually despised and disregarded, if their rights to be secure in their persons and property are held by no better tenure than the caprice of a mob, the alienation of their affection from the government is the natural consequence, and to that, sooner or later, it must come. This is a big deal. What we're dealing with in our country right now, specifically on the southern border, speaks directly to this and a few other things as well. All right, let's talk about it. Okay, welcome back to Continue Freedom. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments, and all that good stuff. Follow me on all the social media accounts here on Rumble, on YouTube, and on Locals, Twitter as well. I'm starting to do Twitter, or X, sorry. Yeah, one of these days I'll get to it. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, what you saw in the intro, this is from the 1838 address. Lincoln at the time was 28 years old, so a young man, but he had recently moved from the pioneer lifestyle into Springfield, Illinois. And what is he referencing here? What's he specifically saying? He's saying that the American people were attached to our government. Now, his reference in that time, that day and age, would not have been to the formalities of government and what we think of as the government, right? This massive, overreaching organization that we have today. What he's talking about is a government aligned with the Constitution, aligned with our rights, aligned with our right to property, to live our life as we see fit. This is his frame of reference. And he was saying that if the government continues to bend to the mob, if the government continues to refuse to protect our rights, to protect our rights as individuals, our rights to property, and they're allowing the mob to dictate that, then the alienation of their affection from the government, which means we're going to start pulling away, is that's the situation that is bound to happen, that has to happen when the government shows no regard for our rights as citizens, no regard for our rights to property, no regards for our rights to live our lives as we see fit. It's really not complicated. And, you have to ask, was Abraham Lincoln a perfect man? Absolutely not. I mean, in his first inaugural address, he basically lied to people in order to try to prevent a civil war. The Civil War happened, and he did a lot of the things in his first inaugural address that he said he wasn't going to do, which was interfere with, the slave trade and all that. But he did it, you can say, in hindsight, for good cause, because that was the greatest sin of our nation, was slavery, and he was able to eradicate it through General Grant and the Union's victories and so on and so forth. Through a civil war, cost 600,000 lives, but at the end of the day, that was worth it. And we're in a situation today on our southern border in particular, where we have people like this. We have Alejandro Mayorkas. And, believe what you want about Alejandro Mayorkas. Let me get this. Let me take this down here. Apologies. You might be able to see that. Alejandro Mayorkas is a politician. He is a through and through, 200% a politician. And this is the Senate Homeland Security Committee. They're talking about the threats to the homeland. And I don't know who this gentleman is. My apologies for that. But we're going to listen to the response. The response is what is key when you listen to politicians. By and large, I think that these Senate hearings they're great for senators and, congressmen and women, for, committee meetings, to get their name out there, to be able to gin up a little bit of social media and, get that sound bite. That's what everybody's looking for, whether they're Republican or Democrat, they're looking for the sound bite. But in this instance, these are very specific questions. These are questions that should be answerable, but listen to how he answers them.
Thank you so much. Mr. Secretary, approximately how many illegal aliens in this country or here on asylum have direct ties to Hamas, to Hezbollah, to the Islamic Jihad or the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran?
Senator Marshall, let me assure you that the individuals that pose a risk to our national security are our highest enforcement priority. The safety and security of the American public.
Do you have any idea how
is
many
our
numbers,
highest
what
mission.
those numbers are? Is it tens, is it hundreds, is it thousands?
An individual who poses a risk to our national security is our highest enforcement priority, and if detention...
So you don't...
If they can't give a number, they don't know. If they can't give a number, they have no idea. And he's saying, I have no idea, but I'm going to give a generic milquetoast fence sitter, non-answer to the people that are, these are people that are talking to us. These are our elected representatives. These are the people that are on Capitol Hill to speak for us on matters of the nation, the big issue items, the big deal items, all the things that are being done. They are our voice, supposed to be our voice. And they ask a very direct question to the man who is in charge of our southern border. And what does he say?
Know the answer to the question?
And if detention is indeed warranted by reason of the risk they present, then we indeed detain them.
Do you have an answer for my question?
I believe I have answered your question.
No, sir, you didn't. I asked you how many have direct ties to Hamas, Hezbollah, Islam Jihad.
Senator, if an individual is identified as having a nexus to one of those organizations, we would consider them a risk to our national security and take appropriate enforcement action to include...
But how many
you.
have come in?
Detention and removal.
When?
And this guy's not pressing him. He's just getting the response, the non-response from Mayorkas. He says, I just want the non-response on the record. So he's moving on. But this could be pressed more.
Will DHS and when will DHS disclose the countries of origin of people arrested by Border Patrol on the terrorist watch list?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, Senator?
You heard the question.
Will DHS and when will DHS disclose the countries of origin of people arrested by Border Patrol on the terrorist watch list?
If you are referring, Senator, to the terrorist screening data set, just to be precise, I would be pleased to speak with you in the appropriate context. This would not be it.
He's not asking who. He's asking when. When? You can release the meat and potatoes of the information if it has to be inside of a secured environment because it's a non-state actor that is somewhere, whether it's from Syria or it's from China or it's from, wherever these people on the terrorist watch list are from, you can release that. Tell the American people when. But they won't. He's not going to say when. He doesn't know how many. He doesn't know when. He doesn't know if he's going to. Because all he has to do is survive. This is why these things they're a sham, but they are also useful. The only way they are useful to us is to hear the non-answers, to realize that the people that are supposed to be protecting our borders are unwilling to do so. The people that are supposed to be protecting our borders can show us by non-answer on the sanctity of our borders as a sovereign nation, and they will give us zero answer. They'll give us zero answer. Why? Because you don't warrant an answer. You're just a measly little human. You little imp. It's infuriating to me. The ego behind these people, the ego that they have to be able to sit in front of the representatives of the American people and to put politics on glaze over the answers that we all want with politics. We don't deserve that. I don't care if you are a Republican or a Democrat. We deserve straight answers. And in most cases, it's Republicans and Democrats that do the same thing. They answer with a non-answer because, it's political points. It's all about political points. Well, I will let you know, and I will pull this up. This is our next little foray into what's happening at our southern border. Are there people coming across the border that are a potential danger to us as Americans? And let's go ahead and play this here.
What country are you guys from? Hey, why is it a big secret?
Watch this. He's running to try to get ahead of him.
What's the problem?
They don't want
Why
to be
not?
filmed.
Whoa, what's the problem?
Covering their faces.
You guys from Syria? You guys okay?
Covering their faces. Head down.
Amigos, what country?
Don't want to be identified, right? People don't want to be identified. Why would they not want to be identified? Are they, just poor refugees who just don't, they don't want their face out there. They're afraid. Believe me, there's video footage of millions, literally millions of people coming across the southern border. People aren't afraid. They aren't afraid to have their picture taken. How do I know this? Because nary a year ago, this was an article, not an article, but a report from CNN. Let's look at what they were talking about at the southern border. If the video wants to play, CNN, your website is terrible. Oh, CNN. Good grief. We'll try it again here. Here you go.
The anticipation building on the Mexican side of the border on the day Title 42 was set to be lifted. These videos shot by a migrant and provided to CNN show migrants in Matamoros using rafts to cross the Rio Grande.
Nobody's covering their
Some in the
face.
crowd
Nobody
provide
cares.
commentary. At the port of entry
Here we
this
go.
week.
Here's a whole
What would you
family
tell
willing to be
migrants,
interviewed. Do these look like people?
He says that it's not
People from
worth-
South America know that they don't have to worry about being videotaped. They know that they're not going anywhere. They're never going to have to show up for court. That this whole situation has been orchestrated. It has been, it has been carefully orchestrated to get these people from one place to another. The bus tickets have been bought. The plane tickets have been bought. People know that now is the time to come into the United States of America. And yet, here we had an entire video of people, of military-aged males, coming into our country, obviously a threat or a potential threat. We look at the things going on in Israel, and these people paraglided into Israel in order to conduct an attack. Do they need to paraglide into the United States? No. They are already here. Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, they are in this country now. And going back to that speech from Abraham Lincoln, when he talked about the government not being willing, and it's not going to be the foreign governments. And from that same speech, I'm going to read this to you. How then shall we perform it? At what point shall we expect the approach of danger? By what means shall we fortify against it? Shall we expect some transatlantic military giant to step the ocean and crush us at a blow? Never. All the enemies of Europe, Asia, and Africa combined, with all the treasures of the earth, our own excepted, in their military chest, with a Bonaparte for a commander, could not by force take a drink from the Ohio, or make a track on the Blue Ridge in a trial of 1,000 years. At what point then is this approach is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reach us, it must spring up from among us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die by suicide. This is what we are facing right now on our southern border. This sounds, maybe you may think I'm grandstanding. You may think that this is, just me trying to make a big deal out of nothing, out of some poor people wanting to come into our country. No, this is destruction from within. And people like Alejandro Mayorkas are the ones orchestrating it. The Democrat Party is orchestrating this. This is destruction from within. They are culpable in this, and we are letting it happen. And you know what? There's still going to be people in 2024, a year from now, there's still going to be people, despite the destruction of our country from the inside, who are going to say, you know what? I can't handle mean tweets. I'm going to vote for a Democrat. That's where we are. I rushed home from work and I threw this together. I had to record this. This is important. This is very important for our country. I hope that everybody out there will take notice, but understand that this was something, I mean, you call it predicted, and a civil war erupted during Lincoln's time over a huge issue. I'm not saying we're at civil war, but I'm saying that we don't have to have a civil war for our country to be destroyed from within. If we are allowing terrorists, and that's not saying I'm against immigration. I'm totally for immigration, legal immigration. I think it's awesome because we're bringing the best and brightest from other nations. What I'm saying is unfettered immigration with a hostile world who wants to see our nation fall is being escorted in by the Democrat Party. These people are being escorted in and given money and cell phones and a place to live. They're giving quarter to the enemy. And it's putting every American at risk. And it breaks my heart, and it's a shame that shameful that politicians are willing to do this. Okay, so there's my message for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave me comments below. I love seeing the comments, and we'll see you next time.